Hey everyone, my name is Riley and welcome to or back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some books that I think deserve more hype. These are just some books that I really have loved and I think deserve more recognition on the booktube community. So without further ado, grab some coffee, grab some water, and continue watching. Okay, so I have 10 books, but the first one is The Heiress Gets a Duke. This book is about a really rich family from, the United States, and basically the oldest daughter is being arranged to marry a duke whose family doesn't have enough money. And so they're marrying each other so that the duke is able, to have some income to support his family with. When they first meet, they absolutely don't like each other, so it's definitely an enemies to lovers book. If you like Netflix's Bridgerton, this book is definitely a book that you should read. It reminded me a lot of the show. Actually more so than the Duke and I book, which is what the series was based off of. So I definitely recommend this book. I ate this book up. I thought it was amazing and I definitely think it deserves more recognition. Like, it is really, really good. So the second book is actually one of the very first books that I read when I was starting to get into reading again. It is The Lovely War. So a book talker, her name is Ellen, I don't remember her last name, but I'll put it here on the screen, actually recommended this book, and it was actually her videos that made me want to start reading again. But she said that she absolutely loved this book, and I definitely agree. This book follows several love stories during World War II, but it's told in the point of view of Greek gods. I know a lot of people love like Greek mythology retellings. I'm personally not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of fantasy either, but I really, really, really enjoyed this book. When I recommend books to people, I definitely recommend this one, and I just never see anyone talking about this book. And like, I don't know if this is like a big deal to other people, but like, it's just so satisfying, like the way to read it, like the spacing and the like font they use. They have such pretty dividers. Everything about this book is just so satisfying, and I definitely think it deserves some more hype, and I think people should really, really, really read this one. Continuing on the train of book recommendations that Ellen made TikToks about, my next book is Our Stop. Ellen recommended to read this one, and it was, again, one of the first books that I read when I was starting to get back into reading. It's about two people who use the same train to get to work, and there's this thing in the matchmaker section of the newspaper where you could kind of write little snippets to people that you have crushes on, and essentially the guy does it to the girl. This idea continues through the book of trying to meet each other and, have the connection that they are perfect for each other, but they keep missing each other. I think it's really cute, and I never see people talk about it, so I definitely recommend it. So last book that Ellen had recommended is When She Woke. This book is about a society who felons or people who are convicted of crimes have their skin dyed, I guess, or they have their skins changed colors based off, like, I think it's DNA changing. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that they have different, like, their skin changes colors based on the, like, significance of their crime. So, like, misdemeanors, I think, are yellow, but felons are red. And so, essentially, they are imprisoned and sometimes put on TV. For felons are most likely to, and then they're released back into the public. So even though they are technically free, everyone knows of their crime, and so they're kind of outcasted based on that. So this girl follows Hannah, whose skin is changed red. She was charged with a crime of murder, and basically she's released back into the public, and it's about her way of trying to find, peace. And it is really good. It is a really heavy book, so it took me a while to get through it just because of how heavy it was, but it is really good, and it definitely grabs your attention when you start reading it. I just think no one really talks about it, especially about like dystopian societies and how like the government is kind of different, I don't know, in a bad way. So if you like that kind of like books, then I definitely recommend this book. The fourth book I'm going to be talking about is Dear Martin. I actually was assigned to read this in my freshman English class, so I am so grateful to that professor for assigning this book. This was actually the first book we had to read about. If you really like The Hate U Give, you're definitely going to love Dear Martin. I absolutely ate this up. I read it in one sitting. It's about a high schooler who writes letters to MLK, and basically he just goes through life about like how racism affects him today and how it affects him in school and how his friends go through it. But there's this big plot twist in the middle of the book that absolutely grips you and makes you want to read all of it in one sitting. I don't understand why people don't talk about this book enough because I think it's absolutely amazing. I honestly liked it a lot more than The Hate U Give. Not to say The Hate U Give is not good. I also really liked that book, but this for me is like 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I really enjoyed this book. So the sixth book I'm going to be talking about is Jo and Laurie. So this book's about Jo, and it's basically about her writing the second half of Little Women. So Jo's the author of Little Women, so think of Little Women and divide it in half. And so she's already wrote the first half and it's already published, and you know, she's getting a lot of credit for it. But she has a writer's block to finish the second half of the book. So Laurie comes in and sweeps her up and, you know, takes her to New York City, and it's kind of about that. This is the book that every Little Woman lover needs to read. It is satisfying in the way that, you know, you want it to be satisfying that you didn't get from Little Woman. If you know, you know. But I really recommend this book. I'm so surprised that no one talked about it considering how beloved Little Woman is. So the next book is The Wife Upstairs. I love Rachel Hawkins. If you don't know her, she also writes under the name Erin Sterling. So if you read The Ex-Hex, that is also her. This book is a Jane Eyre retelling, and it's told in the modern, you know, modern times. It's about this girl who, you know, meets this man and she moves in, and that's all I can really say. Yeah, so I recommend this book. I just feel like no one ever, you know, talks about this. But it's so good. Like, it's such a good, like, thriller that no one talks about. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Loss Apothecary. So it's about this woman who goes to London essentially because she needs a break from her marriage, and she finds this little bottle about apothecary and starts digging into it. And so it jumps back and forth between past and present, and past with like the apothecary. So the apothecary has its own main characters in the story, and then it also jumps to the marriage and the girl unraveling the secrets about it. But the apothecary was used to help women in the times when, you know, there wasn't a lot of help for them. So I really recommend this book. I did not think I was really going to enjoy this book just based off the concepts. But honestly, I really enjoyed it, surprisingly. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The American Royals. I didn't think I was honestly going to like this book as well, but it honestly really surprised me. It's about the United States today if George Washington had accepted to become, you know, the king of the United States.
Hi, editing Riley. I did a terrible job of explaining this book when I filmed it, but it's basically about the siblings in the 21st century who are descendants of George Washington. So they are like the royal family.
So it's just about the siblings and their drama and, you know, their love life, basically. It is really good. I actually really enjoyed this, so I definitely recommend for everyone to read this. It kind of follows different plot lines, so you're not just following one person, you're following like around 4 girls, so I definitely recommend this. It is so good. The last book I'm going to be talking about is The X Talk. So this book's about 2 people who work at a radio station, and the concept comes up about what if 2 exes have to do a talk show for the radio, and they just talk about, you know, love lives, relationships, that type of stuff. But the problem is that no one at the studio has dated before. So they take 2 people who obviously they don't like each other and they throw them together. And so it's enemies to lovers. It's the fake dating trope, but not fake dating since they're supposed to be exes. I definitely really liked this book. It's very rom-com-y, feeling like it's a feel-good book. I really recommend this one. I just feel like it never gets the significance that it deserves. It is so good. So those are all the books that I think deserve more hype. If you have any books that you think deserve more hype, then definitely comment them below because I would love to add them to my Goodreads list. I love finding books that no one really talks about because I feel like you always see the same books over and over again, so it's refreshing to see books that no one talks about. If you got to this point in the video, I hope y'all enjoyed it so far. Please like and subscribe. It means the absolute world to me. If you want to see more content from me or have any ideas, then definitely comment them below. I hope you have an amazing rest of day or night, whatever time zone you're in, and I'll see you guys in the future. Bye!